Welcome to Chapter 13 of The Divide. Please like and subscribe. The second that the school day had finished, Maddie ran to his and Julia's room. Bursting through the door, he threw his things down on the bed and waited for Julia. Secret notes, strange doors, and possibly some torture chamber below the school? It's time I let Julia know, Maddie thought. He just had to think of a way to word it so he didn't come across as crazy. Julia soon came back to the room and was going to get ready to swim when Maddie immediately blurted out, "Secret notes, strange doors, and possibly some torture chamber below the school. Jules, something is up here." Julia took a second to soak it all in, then laughed while throwing her books on her bed. "Maddie, what are you talking about?" she asked playfully. Okay. So, Maddie started speaking, then he took a deep breath before continuing. "Jules, today in the library, some guy I never saw before wearing an all-black suit, he took out a book from a shelf. Then he flipped through the pages to a secret note that was inside. After reading it, he took a different book and he put his own secret note in that book. When he left, I copied his note down. It said X7J, Tower at Dusk, Dawn 44K9. Maddie then showed Julie his wrist, which he wrote the code onto. He then rushed forward with more of an explanation. "I also heard strange screaming, Jules, like strange screaming. Okay, not that there's a non-strange screaming. Anyway, it was coming from below the classroom, my classroom. And what is up with all these metal doors in between the rooms? Also, the marching and culty chanting, stomping thingy in the morning? Strange." Maddie paused to catch his breath, his eyes looking at his sister, awaiting for her to completely agree with him. Now, Julia is not one to ever dismiss what Maddie says. He normally is clear and focused with his observations or accusations. Yet everything he said so far just seemed too obscure. On one side of the coin, she felt he had a point, and everything combined definitely seemed worrisome. But on the other side of the coin, it all could be absolutely nothing. This guy in the library, maybe he was a librarian just noting something down about a book. The screaming? Maybe a vacuum cleaner or any other number of things that makes a familiar noise. And the doors, well, so what? Fancy schools can have all the doors they want. "Listen, Maddie," Julia replied with softness in her tone. "Okay, I agree, the culty, chanty, stomping in the morning, super strange, super weird. But the other stuff, like, are you sure it's really what you think it is?" Maddie, still worked up, was ready to keep arguing for his idea until Julia cut him off. "Trust me, Maddie, I'll never let you be in danger. Right now, I think we are safe. A little bit of a strange school, for sure, but hey, these are the rich and powerful. Of course some things will be different than our dirty little public school back home." Julia then went over to her brother and playfully rustled her fingers in his hair. "We're safe, Maddie. And hey, if the zombies start to come out, we'll fight them off together. Deal?" Maddie, still looking down at the code on his wrist, began to calm down. He will always trust Julia and her sense about things. "Maybe you're right, sis. Sorry I got all crazy. It's just strange, that's all." "I agree," Julia answered. "Some things here definitely are. But we have each other's back, and that's what's most important. So, what do you say we go for a swim?" "Swim?" Maddie replied with more of a light heart. "You know sunbathing is my sport." They both smiled and then slowly prepared to go down to the pool. While preparing in their clock tower sanctuary, the tension slowly left and the room itself seemed to exhale, leaving a peaceful and resolved feeling. Julia and Maddie were ready for the pool, and they closed the door behind them to go downstairs. As they left, however, little did they know they were also leaving something ghostly in the shadows. Their room, their sanctuary, had a secret. Inside of a light switch, a soft red pulse flickered as a small recorder transmitted every word that Julia and Matthew were saying. And far from the clock tower, a helicopter sat silent on the tarmac with its pilot, the same pilot who brought Julia and Matthew to eminence. He sat still, replaying the audio from Maddie and Julia's conversation. "That was a close call," he muttered into a microphone attached to his helmet, his voice barely a whisper against the cockpit's electronic hum. A voice, deep and resonant, replied with a chilling calmness. "X7J, tower at dusk, dawn 44K9. The pilot nodded, although unseen behind his helmet and dark visor, his mind racing through scenarios. "Dawn 44K9, he repeated.